Welcome to Leadership Unleashed, the show that will explore the multifaceted world of leadership through insightful interviews, thought-provoking discussions, and practical advice from leaders throughout Westchester County and beyond. I'm your host, Dr. Marsha Gordon, President and CEO of the Business Council of Westchester. Today we are honored to have with us three special guests. Alyzza Ozer, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester, Kathleen Reckling, the CEO of ArtsWestchester, and Joseph Stout, the Executive Director of the Westchester Parks Foundation. Thank you all for joining us on Leadership Unleashed today. We are so proud to have Westchester Medical Center as the premier sponsor of Leadership Unleashed podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So before we begin, can each of you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your organization? Kathleen, why don't we start with you?
Oh, of course, I have to go first. I'm the relative, probably new kid on the block in terms of being a chief executive officer, executive director of an organization. I just officially started in my role on July 1, but I've been with ArtsWestchester since 2011. And if you're not familiar with ArtsWestchester, we're sort of like an umbrella organization that works with and serves hundreds of arts organizations and artists across Westchester County and increasingly in Rockland County too, through grant making, advocacy, and also through programmatic services.
And you do such great work. You really do such great work. Joseph Stout, Westchester Parks Foundation.
Well, the Parks Foundation is the largest organization that's solely dedicated to advocating for and investing in the county park system. Which, as you all know, is one of the foremost park systems in the country, 50 different parks, over 18,000 acres, and we've been around since 1977, so it's a great thing to do.
And you also do incredible work, and I'm there at least once a week walking at Kensico at 6:30 in the morning.
That's the Parks Department does that, but
okay,
yes.
but the foundation
use the park,
helps.
yes,
But
absolutely.
we love the parks.
More people that use them, the better it is.
And Alyzza.
First of all, I want to thank you and your extraordinary team for personifying leadership.
Thank
That's what
you.
the emphasis is here. So this fall, I will have been at the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester for 10 years. And the organization this October turns 85.
Congratulations. That's an auspicious occasion. And we're going to come back to that because we brought you here together because each one of you is marking an exciting milestone within your organization. And Alyzza, since you just mentioned the 85th anniversary of the Boys and Girls Club, could you share, and Joe, you have Bicycle Sundays going on and the 50th anniversary. And Kathleen, you just became the CEO. Can you just share what that means for you and your organization and the people you serve?
Sure. So at the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester, the mission is really to improve the lives of youth and their families. And we've had approximately 1.6 million visits.
Wow.
And programming includes preschool all the way through seniors in high school. And we have 40 different programs. The key differentiator is civic advocacy and leadership. As you know, we've worked together on various types of legislation and advocacy. And so what it really provides is providing the programming that children need academically, socially, wellness, fitness, and ensuring that they have a safe place to be. That's also very exciting and fun and diverse to prepare them to be able to give back to the communities that they live in.
That's great. And Joe, what is Bicycle Sundays meant?
50 years, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. If it wasn't the first, it was one of the first programs in the country that would close down a public parkway, public road, so people could use it. Originally,
I live right off the Bronx River Parkway, so I see everybody going.
Right. Originally, it was just bikes. Now you can walk, or you can rollerblade, or you can skateboard, or anything on wheels. But it's really an iconic. It's one of those Westchester iconic programs. It was started by County Executive Del Bello back in 1974, which is kind of cool. It's kind of weird to say that I probably was on it in 1974 and still hanging around with it now. But it's that's a great program.
Thank you. And Kathleen, what does it mean for you to have worked at ArtsWestchester and now to be the CEO?
I'm also a lifelong Westchester resident, and so I really consider myself the beneficiary of so many of the arts organizations that are here. So this is really, for me, very much about kind of paying forward the incredible experiences I've had throughout my lifetime. And I had such incredible mentorship at ArtsWestchester with Janet Langsam, who, of course, is a legend. And so just being able to grow within the organization and to move from being very program focused to being very service focused is incredibly exciting and empowering for me as an emerging leader. But also the arts I love being at the table with the partners that are here because I've gotten to work with both of them at different times. Alyzza helped us get an after-school program going years ago. We did a collaboration with the Parks Foundation at Rye Playland, and those are the types of partnerships that I'm so excited to get to pursue in this position as CEO.
Well, we look forward to working with you, Kathleen. I think it's just so exciting. And you were one of our 40 under 40s, too.
Which was such, by the way, getting that kind of recognition is such an incredible motivation for someone who decides to grow their career in Westchester. And so that was something that meant a lot to me in my career journey. So I really
That's
appreciate
terrific.
that.
Happy to hear that. So each one of you also leads an organization that plays a crucial role in the community. What are some of the unique challenges you face as a leader in these types of organizations? And how have each one of you had to adapt your leadership styles to face these challenges? Joe, you want to kick that one off?
Sure. So what I learned from my previous life was in government for a long time is that this is just a business that doesn't pay some taxes. And if you don't make enough money to pay the bills, you don't get to do your mission. So, what's kind of changed in our world, in my world, to focus our staff on, it's everybody's job to fundraise. We all have to make sure that there's no margin, there's no mission, and getting folks excited about what we do.
I like that. There's no margin, there's no mission. We all run not-for-profits.
Got it. And I'm sitting here listening to you two guys talk about it. And when you think about the impact that the three organizations have on the not only on the people who live here, but the business community of Westchester, part of the reason they live here is because of the things that are provided by the not-for-profits, why they keep their businesses here. And that's kind of been a challenge internally to kind of get ourselves to focus on the fact that it's not just your little piece of I do this program or I do that program, but there's a bigger whole that goes into making our park system in our world more accessible for people who don't necessarily get to use it the same way we do. And make an impact on the businesses and the community that are here.
It's what contributes to the quality of life. Every one of your organizations contributes to economic development, and it contributes to attracting people, retaining people, and creating a community that's open to young people, older people, everyone in between.
Right.
And that makes it very, very special. So, Alyzza, what would you say are some of the unique challenges that you face as a leader?
So, similarly, I had a career in law and real estate prior to going into philanthropy. And partnerships are the leverage to be able to bring in funding. And sometimes the partnerships are program-oriented, and sometimes it provides you additional leverage from a funding perspective. We kicked off last September a first-time partnership with Family Services of Westchester for a Head Start program.
That's great.
Bringing in an additional 30 young preschool children. We did with Westchester County, extraordinary appreciation to County Legislator Erica Pierce and to County Executive George Latimer. We're the first nonprofit agency in Westchester that's received direct funding for mental wellness for youth.
Very important.
And there's 5 various partners to implement that program.
That's great. And so part of leadership, since we're talking about Leadership Unleashed, is really developing those collaborations and being open to those partnerships.
Absolutely.
And that's an opportunity, and sometimes it's a challenge. So
it's always a challenge.
It's always
an
challenge,
opportunity.
but it's a challenge we'll overcome. And Kathleen, what would you say are the unique challenges and opportunities for leadership?
Yeah, what we were seeing in the arts pre-pandemic, and had been going on for some time, and I think it's something that a lot of the nonprofits have been dealing with, is shrinking corporate giving. But then the pandemic accelerated a lot of that, along with changing audience preferences. And so what we've been trying to see as a grant maker, right, how do we make sure that we're providing what's needed in funding, and we've had such incredible support from the county government and from the state, but in looking beyond what we do as grant makers and looking towards how do we inspire those kind of really productive collaborations across sectors and within the field to find new ways for arts organizations to bring in the dollars that they need for those margins that keep the mission going. And so really being proactive in working with organizations, and I think coming from a collaborative workplace that I think is in the arts, that's really helpful in taking on those leadership challenges.
You're listening to three incredible leaders today: Alyzza Ozer, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester; Kathleen Reckling, CEO of ArtsWestchester; and Joseph Stout, Executive Director of the Westchester Parks Foundation. I'm Marsha Gordon of the Business Council of Westchester. You're listening to the BCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed, and we will be right back.
A lot goes into planning a birthday. For my daughter Cameron, it started with a stem cell transplant to cure her sickle cell disease. Yes, cure. Westchester Medical Center Health Network uses every technology, technique, and talented specialist to conquer diseases that could otherwise rob a child of childhood, helping my daughter and thousands of others at Maria Ferreri Children's Hospital. Happy birthday, Cameron.
Happy birthday.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
We are back on the BCW Podcast Network. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with all about leadership with Alyzza Ozer, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester; Kathleen Reckling, CEO of ArtsWestchester; and Joseph Stout, Executive Director of the Westchester Parks Foundation. As we were discussing earlier, each of the organizations represented here today plays such an influential role in the community. So, Joe, can you tell us what value County Parks and the foundation plays in adding to the overall well-being of Westchester, particularly as it relates to the business community?
So I think there's a couple of things here, right? One is, and you brought up the pandemic. When you talk about what was available during the COVID pandemic, the only thing that was really open was county parks, both for residents and for business communities. The other opportunity is parks provides really great team building opportunities for businesses here, for volunteer opportunities to come and clean up and help spruce up. But I think the biggest impact is helping attract and keep talent, right? Because this is a great place to live. Absolutely. And it's not an inexpensive place to live. So there's a reason why people stay here when they come here and why businesses choose to invest in here. And I think it's, everybody talks about schools, but they also talk about the open spaces. The county executive has said it a lot of times. When you fly out of Westchester County Airport, you're kind of struck by how green this place is. Big chunk of that is the county park system.
Very, very important.
Right.
Very important to the quality of life. We're told over and over again by the businesses here that it's so important. And Kathleen, similarly, the arts play a tremendous role in our community. Can you talk with us about the arts as an economic engine and the opportunities for cross-sector collaboration?
Sure. So the arts, and people always talk about kind of the things that you can't measure in the arts that have great community impact, including quality of life. But the arts also put about $182 million into Westchester economy. And what we've also been seeing across the Hudson Valley is that creative workers are actually one of the fastest growing workforces, and employment in the arts is growing faster than in any other sector. And as that ticks up, what we're also looking at is opportunities for how can the arts help with development, help with community empowerment? And a lot of developers have figured out that the arts really help make their communities more interesting and more inclusive. And so ArtsWestchester has been working a lot in the public art space, not just what we did at Playland with transforming an empty space, but in bringing arts onto new developments. And murals and sculptures are just the beginning. There's so many more opportunities to have creative interventions that really turn spaces into places.
And we see them all over, and it's fabulous. And Alyzza, we've heard such great things about the initiatives you're doing and the programming at the Boys and Girls Club of Northern Westchester. And you started to talk before about the club's Head Start preschool program, as well as the Comprehension Mental Wellness program. Can you talk about the importance of that in terms of businesses and economic development
Sure.
in the community?
Yeah, no, absolutely. First of all, from the perspective of economic development, we are helping to develop youth who will then be employers within Westchester County. 87% of children who regularly attend after-school programming at Boys and Girls Clubs give back to their communities. So that's a commitment to how they're going to be helping their communities as adults. We also have a very high percentage of graduation, so the kids are all going to college and universities, and the majority of them come back to Westchester to
That's
work.
great.
We also give an opportunity for the families, because we're open till 9:30 at night. We open at 7 in the morning. We have early morning drop-off, and we bus the kids as well. So there's after-school programming with 3 meals a day and over 40 programs, so the families feel comfortable working, knowing that their children are someplace safe. So the parents are also infusing within the economy the ability to work. So there's many different prongs in terms
Very
of how
important.
that supports the system within Westchester relative to the economy.
And I happen to know that those meals are especially delicious and nutritious.
Well, that's an example of partnership.
Absolutely.
So, Ladle of Love, Leslie Lampert provides all the meals for the kids on site. We have about 130,000 meals a year.
It's a great example of partnerships. That leads me to my next question, but first let's take a break to listen to our sponsor, Westchester Medical Center. You're listening to the BCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed, and we will be right back.
This is the coming home you dream about.
But getting here was unimaginable.
At 25 weeks, I was hemorrhaging badly, losing amniotic fluid. Fortunately, I was taken to Westchester Medical Center, where they have the most advanced care in the Hudson Valley for high-risk pregnancies and premature babies. And because we were there, now we're here.
WMC Health, advancing care here.
Welcome back to the PCW Podcast Network. This is Leadership Unleashed. Our guests and I have been having a great conversation surrounding leadership, the community, and the impact of their important organizations. So let's talk a little bit about future leaders. And for our listeners who aspire to lead in their own communities, what advice would you give them? Lisa, I'll start with you.
Sure. Well, it's very apropos. Tomorrow we have an extraordinary young woman named Nethmead De Silva, who's she was director of healthy lifestyles at the club, and she's leaving the club to go get a master's in public health at NYU. So I think that it's really important from a leadership perspective to be able to provide people with support that they need, to recognize that as a leader we have a responsibility to provide people with educational opportunities and expand their skills and their abilities and continue to mentor going forward.
Wonderful. Joe?
So I think it's important for young people to kind of show up and be at their workplaces. One of the challenges post-pandemic is the remote work, and I actually think young people lose something from a leadership perspective by not coming into the office. And you learn you learn a lot of what to do, and you learn a lot of what not to do by watching the folks that you work with, your supervisors and their supervisors. So, I just showing up and being open-minded, I think, is an important part of young people learning how to lead. And I think it's incumbent on old guys like me to be willing to share when people ask questions.
Not
too.
that old, Joe. Not that old. And Kathleen?
Alyzza, I'm so glad you talked about mentorship, because I feel that so much of my growth throughout my career was the result of really having good mentors, starting, and strong female role models too, like starting with my mother, through my grad school advisor, through Janet. And so I feel that constant desire to learn, never feeling like you know it all, and to turn to those mentors too and ask the questions and step back and don't come to the table thinking that you've got the answers. Ask the questions and be open to every learning opportunity that comes your way.
And so at our last very few minutes here, what exciting initiatives are your organizations currently working on, and what can we look forward to in the near future? I know I love your holiday lights, Joe.
Well, Winter Wonderland tickets go on
Yeah,
sale
Winter Wonderland, yeah.
in a couple of weeks, which
It's
is insane
very, very
to
special.
to think about. But one of the newer programs that we do that I think is really a cool thing, it's called Trails Without Limits. And we purchased these motorized wheelchairs that have tank treads on them so that folks that have mobility challenges can
Wonderful.
actually go for walks in the woods, for hikes
How
in the woods.
wonderful.
Either self-guided or your partner can take you with them. And it's been really well received. We've had almost 700 opportunities over the last year and a half.
That's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that. And Kathleen, what's coming up in the future?
Well, we're always very busy over here in the arts. There's something happening every day, and if people want to find something, they can visit our website. But I'll just do a little plug for our upcoming benefit concert, which will be at the Capitol Theater on November 12th, and we're bringing the Wallflowers back to the Cap for the first time.
My calendar is marked.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I love to hear. It's going to be a great night, and we hope people really show up to help keep live music happening around the county.
Wonderful. And Alyzza?
Two things. The Learn to Swim and Swim Team program continues to expand. The Moreland Swim Team, 2 years in a row, USA Swimming Bronze status, provides all kinds of wonderful opportunities for children to learn to swim, as well as a master's program for adults. And then we're expanding our advocacy programming. We always go to D.C. as well as Albany. The kids rip apart legislation, learn about what it means, how to advocate, actually speak on the
How
floor.
exciting.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
that's a great opportunity for young people to learn about leadership.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I have a feeling that all four of us, leaders in our community, have learned from each other, and our heads are spinning about what else we can work on together to continue to make Westchester County the very best place to live and to work and to play. And I want to thank today Alyzza Ozer, Kathleen Reckling, and Joseph Stout. It was great having you as our guests on Leadership Unleashed. Thank you for running such wonderful organizations. And thank you again to our sponsor, Westchester Medical Center, and our listeners.